And one of my favorite lessons was how you actually analyze like a book's cover and like table of contents to kind of get a feel for it and understand it. Can you explain that process?
Yes. I was on that Dennis Leary show I told you about, and he had me read the book Lady Boss. And it was about 500 pages in 5 minutes. And then Jackie Collins was testing me on her book she just wrote. So before the show started, the cameraman said, "Can you just pretend to read the book? Don't read it. Just skim the cover with your hand so I could see where the camera needs to be pointing when you read." So, okay. So I'm reading the cover, and it's giving me the names of many of the characters, like Mike, Mo, Murray, and Mel, which are actually characters from 30 years ago. I remember it. So now when I'm reading, Mike, Mo, and Mel doesn't look that different at 80 pages a minute. It looks like the same person. But I wasn't reading the words, I was seeing their faces. One was a criminal, one was a friend, one was a nice guy. And so when the names appeared, I would see an image. Like you might, Big Mick Jagger, you can see him. Paul McCartney, you can see him. And so certain names evoke images. So by using the cover, I was able to pick up the key names of people who would be in the story. So when I started reading, I already had set up file folders that I could use to make the story easier to retain. That's a good example. Now, the contents page, that was another area you asked me. It's a map. It's a map of the book. This is what you're about to go to. So if you're a person reading nonfiction, the first thing you do is you skim that. The less you understand, the more you're going to have to learn. The more you understand, the less you're going to have to learn. At very high speed, you don't learn things you don't know already. You recognize things that you do know. So it's a filter. So it's like, I don't know anything on this page. You've got a lot of work in that book to master the content. Or I've seen almost all of this, like you mentioned the marshmallow concept. Well, for me in psych, it was Pavlov. Every psych book I ever read had a chapter on Pavlov. First book, I had to learn, who is he? What did he do? By the 10th book, it's like, oh, there it is, dog, drooling, bell. That's all I had to see. I knew what it was. I didn't have to read any of the words. I knew exactly what it was, and of course, I was right. So the same thing's true with the contents page. So what I'm able to do is guesstimate how long will this take to learn based on the challenge that this page is presenting to me. It also gives me an estimate on the interest level. Have I ever read on this a book on this topic before? Was it boring? Was it interesting? Based on my prior experiences, how interesting will this be? How much time do I think I'll need because there's a lot of new material? Or how little time will I need because I see there's a lot of content here I already know. And it's very easy to do this with a little practice. Again, it's in the program with the link below the podcast on how to do all this.
Yeah, a lot of great tips in the book, especially like you mentioned, the table of contents is kind of like a roadmap of what people can expect to learn. And if the author did a great job, each like chapter title or subtitle kind of gives you like a heads up of what you're
Yes.
expecting to learn. And also you also mentioned if you read like the inner flaps, there's usually a summary of the book and kind of the main lesson the author wants to teach you. And all of that is like crucial information to determining this is like a good book for you and what you can expect to learn from it.
You took a lot out of that. You're completely right. How many times have you been in the wrong book for 3 weeks and it said, this didn't do what the title was misleading. It isn't giving me what I needed. And I wasted 3 weeks on a book that didn't give me anything I needed. Now I got to go find a book that does it. So one of the advantages of the contents page is you very quickly are seeing the content. Does it actually deliver the concepts and topics you were hoping for? If the answer is no, get another book. You found that out in seconds instead of weeks. And now you're able to move on to a more appropriate book that'll give you more bang for your buck.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a common like bad habit, especially people learn from school, which is like they're used to being assigned the book and being forced to read that book. But now, especially if you're out of school and you're adult, it's like you could read whatever you want. And if a book isn't interesting, like feel free to quit it and grab another book. Yeah.
Another thing people do is they read the wrong material. So For example, if you're in school, the only thing you need to know, and there's only one thing, the answers to the questions on the test. If you know all the answers to every question on the test, you get an A. If you know everything except the answers to the questions on the test, you get an F. So you might say, well, am I supposed to learn this? Theoretically, yeah, but the real win in college isn't learning, it's getting A's on the test. That's how you get a grade. So, what are you really supposed to do? Supposed to figure out what the questions will be on the test, and I teach how to do that based on old tests, how to do an analysis, or for business based on prior experiences with people like this. What questions will they probably want me to answer at the interview or at the proposal? So we're not learning a lot of information no one will ever want to know and missing the information they did want to know, which happens all the time. I know a lot of people work very hard to prepare, but nothing they expected was there, and the things that they were being asked were the wrong things for them. And if you had a better insight ahead of time of what to look for and how to know when you found it, you could learn a lot quicker and filter out all the fluff that has no relevance to your goals and objectives. And that could speed you up tremendously when a large percentage of a book is not material you need or should be looking at, and you only find what's relevant to your purpose.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely wish I had, read this book, or, wish like these techniques were taught in school where people actually need to learn how to learn. So definitely valuable information there.